Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition. The fuck?
It's related to the topic of today's video.
Oh, okay. I was like, okay, 50 had a stroke. Anyways, welcome to. God damn it, 50. Yeah, duck under camera. Welcome to another edition of Get Sweaty, everybody. I am one of your hosts, Spelky Soda Bartakamoose, as usual, joined by Ben Bigfoot Drainer, 50 Shades of Geek, and Sol Govin. How's it all going?
That threw me off.
Yeah, it really did.
Our international treasure, 50 over there.
Yeah, but here's how, okay, so basically, I could see, when I get to one of my picks, I will mention that I think 50 would fit good in this role. Anyways, whose topic was it again? It was 50's, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. So 50, do you want to introduce the topic?
I didn't change my name for that, but you can't see it because my other stupid name is down there, but never mind.
Ben, we are going to have to fix that in post-production to get rid of those bars so we can see their names.
Well,
not in post-production, but for next week. I'm going to take that down. What's it say? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Nice.
So basically, since last week was the potentially series finale of WandaVision, I figured it would be most fitting if today's topic would be top 5 sitcoms.
Right on.
Because WandaVision was all about sitcoms and such. And the canned laughter, which is relates.
I do want to ask you something, just a little bit of a tangent based on what you just said. Do you think WandaVision is going to be a one-off? Because I personally do. I don't think you could ever do a second season of that particular show.
I think it's going to be a one-off.
Yeah.
I think so too, but the ending, specifically the second post-credit scene, kind of implies that maybe there's another one. However, I would have loved to see just a full season of just sitcom stuff going decade by decade without a sinister plot taking place. That's what I wanted the show to be from episode 1 and 2. That's just me. I know I'm in the minority.
Well, 50. You know she's going to be the Doctor Strange too, right?
Yes.
So that whole credit scene will play into that, I think.
Okay.
Oh, it will play into that.
I think
but a lot of sometimes Marvel just does some unexpected things, and maybe this is going to be one of them. And if you want to hear me talk more about WandaVision, you can listen to me and Ben talk about it on Ben's Hot Takes, which we did on Sunday, which technically was last week, but I guess
that is correct. A week ago.
Yeah.
All right, so 50, you want to kick it off?
Yes. So my number 5 is a show, an Israeli show, surprisingly enough, because that's what I do here. What? Yeah.
It's oh mon Dieu, which is French for "oh my god."
Yeah. It's almost as surprising as me. It's almost as surprising as me making a Lion King reference somewhere down the road in this episode. But so this time it's, I don't even know how I should say it, but I don't even think it has an English translation, but it's Naor's Friends, the Friends of Naor, however way you want to say it. It's about a guy.
Oh my gosh, Hebrew. There we go. Words.
החברים של נאור, Naor's Friends. And basically it's about this guy called Naor. He's a comedian. And it basically, if I had to say this, it's probably the closest show that Israel has ever done to Seinfeld.
Oh, okay.
That's the best way I can explain it. Now, I'll just give you, because I have to work with visual aids because it's a show that I'm assuming none of you guys have ever even heard of. This is basically the show. You guys can see it, right? I'm not just looking at dead air right now. Okay, so
I can see it. Honestly, kind of getting a Friends vibe more than Seinfeld.
It's more of a Seinfeld thing. This guy is Naor Tzion. He's a comedian. Basically, the show kind of starts off like Seinfeld. Every episode starts with him doing a stand-up comedy stuff because he's a stand-up comedian. He's also using his real name in the show, same way as Jerry Seinfeld, his name in the real show. every episode starts with him doing a stand-up show on a stage with a live audience, and then the topic that he's talking about on his live show carries over into the actual episode of him and his friends, who are all just actors playing his friends with other names. He's the only one keeping his real name on the show. And like I said, the show every episode is based around the topic that he's talking about on his show, and it's kind of sandwiched in between the live show at the beginning of the episode and at the end of the episode.
Nice.
So yeah, there's also his very just like Seinfeld. He has this very annoying mother character. His friend, who's an Air Force pilot. He's got I think that's his best friend. Hold on. Yeah, this is his best friend, and there's always a girl in there that they keep changing it every season because they need a girl to be in the show because of diversity, but for some reason they keep changing the actress every season. No idea why they do that, but yeah, it's basically it's a guy living in Tel Aviv. He's a stand-up comedian in profession, and every single episode there's like some sort of wild shenanigans that happens and somehow relates to the stand-up show that he's doing. And one of my favorite episodes that they've ever done is actually a trope that a lot of sitcoms do regularly, and a lot of TV shows, as a matter of fact, they do a Star Wars themed episode. So yeah, I think this was no bias to Star Wars here, but I think this is one of the best episodes. Basically, his stand-up show at the beginning of the episode, he talks about how he always wanted the toys that everyone has that one toy that they always wanted as a kid and their mom never bought for them. And he talks about how the toy that he always wanted as a child was Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. And then it goes into the actual episode, him just randomly walking into a toy shop looking for a birthday present for his nephew. And lo and behold, there's the original swords from the movie that somehow the guy in the shop managed to get his hands on. It's Luke's saber and Vader's saber, and he buys both of them for himself. And then obviously the child, the nephew, thought he bought them for him. And there's some wild shenanigans, very Star Wars themed shenanigans happening in that episode. It's very much a Star Wars episode through and through. Maybe one of these days, if I'll have the time, I'm going to find that episode, possibly do some subtitles to it and send it to you guys, because it's a really great episode for Star Wars fans.
That would be great.
Very nice.
And one final point on that is the theme song for this show. There might be a remix version of it that I'm planning to find someone to do for me for my fan video game that I'm working on, which is a Pokemon game based on Israel. That might be one of the songs featured on the soundtrack for the city that's based on Tel Aviv for that game.
Right.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Okay, so Ben, you're number 5.
My number 5 is pretty iconic. Someone called it the original sitcom. I Love Lucy.
That just barely did not crack my list.
Same for me.
I agree. I just started watching it, and it holds up. It's just as funny now as I'm assuming it was back then.
Oh God, I grew up. Me and my mom. That's what my mom raised me on shows like that, and All in the Family, and like all those old sitcoms. Oh
and
yeah,
Nick at Night as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're basically our Wanda, Matt.
I guess, just not as pretty. And a
I agree.
Anyways,
Just trying to take a whole city hostage and make them put them on in the same sitcom.
I've thought about it. Anyways, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say about that show? You want singing, you want shenanigans, you want a funny married couple, it has everything. It's iconic. What else can I say about it?
We have talked about this in a previous episode. What was it? Best couples?
Yeah.
And
sitcom couples, I think.
This is the show that launched the sitcom, because before this, you didn't have the 3-camera format. You didn't have live in front of a studio audience. You didn't have the entertainment before and after the show, between tapings. This was the first to show a woman pregnant on TV. Like, this was a massive barrier breaker.
Even though they did have separate beds, just to be like, oh no, they're not having sex.
Yeah.
Not at all. But then she gets pregnant.
How did that happen?
And
Field goal.
It's a first show to have reruns.
That is true. Yeah, first show to have reruns. Yeah. Yeah, and the first show to have, like, if you look at the later seasons, almost every episode, especially when they're in Hollywood, it has guest stars, the massive stars of the time. So John Wayne was in an episode. You had Hedda Hooper was a famous gossip columnist in an episode. George Reeves appeared and in his Superman costume, which is one of my favorite episodes.
And they called me Superman.
Yeah. You had Van Johnson. You had Maurice Chevalier. Like, you had the biggest stars of the show wanting to be on. Bob Hope, another classic one. Harpo Marx, where him and Lucy do the mirror scene again. Like,
and not only that too, like, ahead of their time, just having a couple with you have a white woman and a Latino, and that
is right, and that is actually something I feel gets overlooked quite a bit.
Oh, it gets overlooked all the time because he's white passing, and it's also in black and white, so you kind of.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you look at him in color, he's not necessarily white passing, but in black and white, they all. Yeah.
So you hear him speak.
Sorry, what was that? 50?
I said when you hear him speak.
Oh yeah, that just goes out right the fucking window. Here, little known fact about Desi: his maternal grandfather is one of the founders of Bacardi rum.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. And just another fact about Bacardi is that Bacardi actually originated in Cuba, but then left Cuba because of the Castro regime and settled in Puerto Rico. So Bacardi rum, it says made in Puerto Rico, but it's made by Cubans in Puerto Rico.
If you guys can, I know the book is out of print, try to read his autobiography, which actually almost got me knocked out at work once, because I'm reading it, and a coworker walks in and is like, "Oh, what are you reading?" "A book." "No, seriously, what are you reading?" "A book." Desi Arnaz titled his autobiography "A Book." Yes. And before he died, he was playing another one called Another Book. And it's like, you son of a bitch.
Love it.
Yeah. But yeah, I highly recommend reading it. Like I said, it's a book that is like long time out of print, so you'd have to like go to your library to find it. But if you guys ever do, I'd recommend reading it just to get an insight into that time.
And on another note, I can't wait for the movie that they're making about.
That's right. Yeah. That was just announced recently, right?
Yeah. Isn't it Gold Kitten?
Yeah.
I believe it. Yeah. And I forgot to play. We're going to play. How are you, Mona? How are you?
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good cast. It's funny. I remember when she got cast, a lot of people were like, "Oh, I don't see it." But if you put the picture of them side by side, yeah, I can see it. I can easily see her being Lucy.
And I mean, if look at the movies like Bombshell or something, you can really make a person look like another person with makeup.
Oh yeah, like Charlize Theron, like she looks like Dan and Kelly.
Exactly. Yeah.
The Darkest Hours.
Yeah.
I know people want to different messing, but I think Nicole Kidman has more talent than Deborah, in my opinion.
The thing is with Deborah Messing is she more physically resembles Lucy, whereas Nicole, there's a passing resemblance. But yeah, you're right. Nicole's a way better actor.
You know for acting, you don't go for looks, in my opinion.
I agree.
And this, I'm actually looking at the cast. This actually makes me happy. J.K. Simmons is playing William Frawley, who's why am I blanking on his name? Yeah, Fred. But yes,
I love everything J.K. Simmons does.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too.
Hey, Matt, you're here, number 5.
So this is the origins of my name.
One final point, though. One final point.
Of course.
Would you say that it's the ballsiest TV show ever regarding what they did in the time that the show was on?
In historical context, I would go yes, because of the boundaries they pushed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at it in like a modern context compared to other sitcoms, no, but in a historical context, hands down.
Yeah.
That's what I was going for. I had a bad time trying to word it correctly.
Yeah. And one more thing before I go to number 5, if it wasn't for Lucille Ball taking a chance, we wouldn't have Star Trek.
Yeah, you mention that every episode.
I don't know. I'm a stoner. I don't remember these things. I barely remember what day it is. Okay, so my number 5. My number 5 is The Origins of My Name. It is a show that I remember seeing a baby photo when I was a kid, and it was on in the background, and for some reason it always captured my imagination until I finally saw it a couple years ago, and it is Perfect Strangers, which debuted in 1986. The first season was 1986. So basically, the premise of the show, where is it? Okay. The series chronicles the relation of Larry Appleton and his distant cousin Balki Bartakamus. Larry, a Wisconsin native from a large family, has just moved into his first apartment in Chicago and is savoring his first taste of privacy when Balki, a hitherto unknown cousin from a Mediterranean island, Mypos, arrives intending to move in with him. Balki, who was a shepherd on Mypos, interprets what little he knows about the United States by relying on his own, often out of context, recollections of American pop culture. America, land of my dreams and home of the Whopper. You hear a lot of shit like that.
Not product placement at all.
Nope. Balki's signature is his dance of joy, a cross between the dosado and the hokey pokey that he performs with Larry to celebrate good fortune. After initially gently rebuffing his cousin's request to stay at his apartment, aspiring photographer Larry decides to take Balki under his wing and teach him about American life. However, the neurotic Larry frequently proves to be as inept as Balki, if not more so, and often gets the pair into situations that only Balki can set right. So basically, it is a fish out of water comedy in a sense about both characters, because both are equally as naive when it comes to the world. Throughout the series, they both meet the girls of their dreams, and at the end of the series, they marry them. And the last episode, have their children. And one of my favorite episodes is the episode where Balki finally gets his citizenship, and he's awaiting for his mom to arrive, also played by the same actor who plays Balki, which is pretty funny. But basically, when she comes to America, and when she finds out what he's doing, she gets mad at him and makes him come back to Mypos with her. And so the other half is Larry going to Mypos to try to get Balki to come back. And it's like, now you just see the roles reverse, and it's an underrated sitcom. You don't hear it often talked about, but the writing is great. The chemistry between Markland Baker and Bronson Pinchot is amazing. And the theme song is one of the best theme songs you'll ever hear. Nothing gonna stop.
I've never heard of this before.
Yeah, and that's why I said it's a little known sitcom, because it came out around the same time as Full House. Family Matters spun off from this show.
Oh, okay.
The character of Harriet Winslow started as an elevator operator in the building the boys worked at in season 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so after 2 seasons of that, they transitioned over to Family Matters. So, I mean, it does have some importance, but it kind of gets buried under those shows. Mm-hmm. And if in America, you can find it on Hulu. Me, I had to buy every season on iTunes, and I didn't regret it.
So basically, the spinoffs were more successful than the original.
Yeah, I'd say this. Yeah, I'd say that for sure, because everyone remembers Urkel, everyone remembers Family Guy, but nobody remembers where it came from.
You mean Family Matters?
Family Guy.
Shut up.
Well, in his defense, he did say he's a stoner.
Yes, I'm not stoned right now, folks. I don't do on-air work stoned anymore. But yeah, I mean, if you guys do get a chance, I do recommend to check it out. The first season is only like 6 episodes, but it's definitely worth watching. And Bronson Pinchot as this Myposian idiot is just brilliant. And Ben, you said you saw Beverly Hills Cop last week?
Yeah.
Like I said to Ben, Bronson Pinchot's role in that helped get him cast as Balki, because he plays a similar character, not necessarily the idiot part, but the out of context foreigner.
Yeah.
Okay, Sol, you're number 5.
So my number 5, which I found out just now that it came out the same year I was born, 1994, ran from 94 to 99. I watched the reruns in the early 2000s, and that is Sister.
On air.
You have Tia and Tamara, who are twins that find out that they're twin sisters when they see each other at a store, and they're kind of like, who is this person that looks like me? And they kind of end up finding out that they were adopted, and then like the mom of Tamara, I believe, is the one who had the mom at Tia, or Tamara's the one with the father. Tia was the one with the mom. Like they needed a place to stay, so they all move in under one house, and the parents don't like each other, and I think they have kind of like an enemies to lovers thing. And you also have the crazy next door neighbor of Roger, which one episode you have he grew up, and you see that all the time in high school where over the summer guys just shoot up, and you're like, what happened to you? Damn. But this show's funny. They actually do the same thing in the movie Twitches, which came out on Disney Channel, where they were twin sisters that didn't know they were twins. They were adopted by separate people. They find out they're twins at a store, because they run into each other. So they did the exact same thing in the movie Twitches. But but it's a fun. Hey, if it works, it works, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a fun show. I watched this when I was younger. I would watch the reruns after school, and this was.
Yeah. I was at the age when it came out, so I never watched an episode, but I remember the advertisements everywhere. I remember seeing the twins everywhere, and then finding out that their brother also was a successful sitcom child actor from the show. Smart Guy.
Mm-hmm. He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
And I went to school with him.
You went to school with him?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, really?
Wow.
So you know him?
No. And,
and
then I knew of him. Maybe I talked to him once or twice. He was very higher than me, I think.
My mom, she went to school with Gloria Estefan, but Gloria Estefan was a senior when my mom was a freshman. So.
Well, look at you.
I served in the military with an Israeli pop star, essentially.
Oh, nice.
Really famous. He was already famous.
I went to school. I graduated high school with someone who is now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, she was a big pop star in Korea.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember. But yeah, she went over there and she made it big. She was like on all those shows, like those reality shows, like The Voice and stuff like that. Like she did a lot. Yeah. So she was pretty big over in the.
I also went to school, if sports fame, I went to school with Tony Kemp High School.
Oh, nice.
He played for the Astros and currently now plays for the Oakland A's.
Cool.
I'm friends with him on Facebook.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I'm from a small town. We don't get a lot of that stuff up here. We've had one athlete make it to the NHL and actually have a semi-successful career. Yeah.
Gotta take those victories whenever you find them.
Oh, of course. And his brother won't let us forget it. He's like, my brother is now the goaltender coach for the Winnipeg Jets. I'm like, I know you're Wade Flaherty's brother.
I know. I get it.
Yeah.
So 50, you're number 4.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 4, and before I get to that, hello.
Hi, 50's mom.
Hi.
Gotta make a guest appearance at some point. In any case, my number 4 is, surprise, surprise, another Israeli show. And this time it's called. It's got a name that it's much more easier to translate. Hold on. It's called "Life Isn't Everything." Achaim ze lo hakol. This is This is so small. This is basically the show. It's about this guy and his wife / ex-wife / wife again / ex-wife again. Yeah, it's a very on and off couple. He lives in his apartment with his.
Before you switch pictures, I don't know if it's just me, but the guy on the right hand side, he's giving me Robert Downey Jr. vibes.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
This guy. Oh wow! I can see how you think that from this angle.
Yeah.
But if you look at him in this angle, you don't get that anymore.
Oh yeah, no,
right?
I'm not saying from the look. I'm just saying the way he is in that picture. It reminds me of our RDJ,
like a young RDJ.
Yeah,
That is definitely something I never thought anyone would say about this guy. But yeah, it's nice that you're getting that vibe. In any case, this guy, the one we were just talking about, he's playing the, spoiler alert, the Catherine Hahn type. The Kramer type.
Oh,
the annoying nosy neighbor that shows up completely uninvited, opens the door without knocking, and leads them to kind of weird and wild shenanigans. This is his wife on the show. He's basically like a mousy doormat. He's afraid of his wife, always afraid of upsetting her, which he always does. But he's a very mousy man. This is the boss of this guy, and this guy. His name is Benny Knobler, and he does something related to television or comedy. I don't know. They never actually explicitly say that. I mean, they never actually say what his job is. He's just working for this guy, and this guy's like a comedian, something, I don't know, TV personality. They didn't really put too much effort into talking about this guy. The show is mostly about this guy and his relationship with his wife / ex-wife / wife again / on and on and on, and all the on again off again relationship that they keep having. This is their apartment. Eventually, at some point, they have a daughter, which, as you can see, grows up over the course of the show. This is the guy's parents, two really legendary Israeli comedians, and basically, it's widely considered to be the best Israeli sitcom ever.
Nice.
That's how people view it as. And also, I believe they have another shtick similar to the whole Seinfeld thing. One of their shticks is every episode the guy is just sitting talking to a camera, sort of a talking face thing, but sort of explaining so what did we learn today from this episode? That sort of thing. He tries to do it in a funny type of a way. And one last bit of trivia about this show. The main theme song for the show is actually the song that is heavily featured in the first Ice Age movie. That's the main theme song of the show.
That's really cool.
Oh.
It's really cool.
Very, very funny. I approve. Okay,
well, thank you for your approval.
Ben, what is your number 4?
My number 4 is Frasier from 1993. I'm sorry?
Oh, I love Frasier. Please continue.
In the book, did you have it?
I didn't hear what it was. Sorry.
Frasier.
It's not on my list. I've only seen the first 3 seasons all the way through.
Yeah, it's great. And it has been up for years. Dr. Fraser Crane moved up Boston to Seattle to be with his family. His father ends up moving in with him. They hire a house. They hire a physical therapist who brother has a crush on it for 4 years, but can't do anything because he's married. It's a really funny and smart show. And the two brothers are like highly sophisticated and smart, and the dad is just an average ex-cop who has a vested hip. Really good show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like I said, I got into a kick a number of years ago. Kevin Smith did a podcast with somebody whose name is blanking from me. He used to be part of the Nerdist thing with Chris Hardwick, Matt something or other. And anyways, they did a show called about Frasier where they broke down every episode. So from that, I started watching it, but after like binging the first 3 seasons, I kind of fell off and I actually haven't come back to it yet.
You're good, man.
Well, at the time, it wasn't streaming up here, so I had to buy every season. Now it is, so there's a chance I could go back to it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Frasier have more seasons than Cheers? The show that it spun off?
Same.
Yeah, it's another case more.
Yeah, it was same.
It's the spin-off being more successful than the original, I think.
Yeah, I've always heard it was more. I'm just going to check that.
They both have 11.
Oh wow.
11 and
one of my
yeah,
favorite.
You're right.
And I think he's the only actor to play that same character for like 20 years or something like that.
Something like
crazy.
that,
Yeah.
That's
That's
longer than
anyways.
actors have ever played any character ever.
No. Yeah, it was fun. It's a certain type of humor because it's very highbrow.
Yeah.
Highbrow vocabulary with a lowbrow humor.
Yeah.
I knew like it. I knew it can come on an episode.
Yeah.
A good example of what you just said there, Matt, is one of my favorite jokes is I think they were even interviewing a guy who's sort of trying to advertise something like shaving your head for someone who's losing their hair or something like that. And then Frasier is talking to his brother and he's like, and they're on the radio and he's saying, "Thank you, brother. I love you. I will shave my head for you." And then he replies by saying, "A gesture that becomes less significant with every passing year."
Okay.
That's one thing I remember from that stuff.
Matt, what's your number 4?
This was a last-minute audible because I realized this is a sitcom. I do want to preface this came out in the 70s. There is a lot of stuff in this series. While in context it is funny, just hearing about it sometimes might be a little off-putting. Again, because of the time it was made, and it is Faulty Towers.
Basil Fawlty.
So Basil Fawlty. So it was John Cleese's highly successful British sitcom from the 1970s. However, it only ran 2 seasons, which is very rare for something that is that legendary. And what's funny is the seasons weren't back to back. There was actually some years between them. But Faulty Towers is about a cynical and snobbish misanthrope who is desperate to belong to a higher class. He sees a successful hotel as a means of achieving this, yet his job forces him to be polite to people he despises. So there's a lot of humor that comes from that. Basically, he tries to act like he rules the roof, but really his wife has his balls in a vice. The main housekeeper doesn't take any shit from him, and his Spanish bellboy, who barely understands a word of English and always constantly confuses things, is a constant thorn in his side. Now, Basil can be very off-putting because of this, because he constantly insults people. There is a character called the Major who, because of his age and stuff like that, can be a little on the racist side and use racist slurs. But if you ignore all that, it is a great show. My favorite episode is an episode called The Germans. In this episode, Basil, while suffering the effects of a concussion, Basil Fawlty repeatedly offends some German guests. Despite warning his staff, don't mention the war, he keeps ignoring his own advice, eventually culminating in a goose-stepping impersonation of Adolf Hitler.
I remember that. I remember seeing that.
Yeah. Don't bring up the war. I did once, and I think I got away with it.
It sounds racist, but it's one of the funniest things.
Really, oh God, yeah, because he's trying to hang. He's trying to hang a moose head up on the wall, and it doesn't quite go right, and it gives him a concussion. And because of that, his brain's all scrambled. So he's telling people not to do these things, but he's just making shit worse. And it's oh my God. And one of the funniest moments of the series is not from this episode; it's from another one where he can't take out his anger on anybody, so he runs outside and he beats the shit out of a Volkswagen Mini with a branch. It's just the sight of this very tall, lanky man just beating the shit out of a car with a branch. It's just like, oh my God. Like I said, great writing. It's a show you can't make today. But if you accept it for the context it was and try not to take the racist characters seriously, it has a lot of great laughs. A lot of the great sitcoms probably wouldn't be made today because of context like this.
Yeah. Like another great example of that is F Troop. A great sitcom, just it really wouldn't work today. It worked better in the 60s. It just doesn't work right now.
And the casting for the show would definitely receive a lot of criticism because this character right here, Manuel, he's the Spanish bellboy. He's played by a British actor. So I mean, yeah, there's a lot.
It happens.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Look at West Side Story. That
exactly.
It is an amazing movie and like won so many Oscars.
Yeah,
there's not many Latinos in that movie.
Yeah, and honestly, without knowing that, you'd think that Manuel was actually a Hispanic actor. Like, the actor did a really good job playing it, but it's just, Yeah. Okay, so, Sol, you're number 4.
My number 4 ran from 1998 to 2006, and that is That 70s Show.
Oh, that almost made almost tracked my honorable mentions.
I forgot about that one. That's a good one.
And then you also have some pretty cool cameos in there. You got Tommy Chong in there. You got Joseph Gordon. Yeah, you got Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah,
is in it, and
Seth Meyers.
Yep,
not Seth Meyers. Seth Green.
Yes, that's great. And the funny thing about it too is this is a show that I watched when I was younger, but the older I get, I relate more to Kitty and Red now than I related to the kids back then.
Yeah.
And also we saw when we were watching WandaVision, I was like, Kitty! like,
that's right, yeah.
I wish they would have done more with him.
Yeah, Deborah Jo Rupp is a treasure. I love her. She needs to be in more things. She's hilarious. And she's hilarious in the show. And Red, like, always threatening to stick someone's ass. Like,
yeah.
hilarious.
With Bob.
Yeah. And also you have the beginning of Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis in this
That is true.
show. Mila Kunis wouldn't be in the show. She didn't lie about her age. She said that she was 18 to be on this show when really I think she was like 16 years old. And so she lied about her age, got the part, and we wouldn't have had the beginning of Mila Kunis if she didn't lie about her age.
Yep. And this was the show that like at this point I had seen stoner stuff, but this was the first show that introduced me to the concept of a stoner.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
The rest of history.
I don't know why this makes me laugh every time I think about it. Actually, I do know why, but it's from the first season where Eric, he's trying to pull a prank, just trying to pull the ultimate prank, and he finally does it at the very end, and he streaks at a town hall meeting wearing a Nixon mask, and he throws his head like, wee wee, pee pee.
And then another thing too is like, you know how you always start and end with them in the circle smoking. Yep. And the one time that it's the adults who are in the circle and you have Kitty and Red, and I think I forget whose other parents, but the adults are smoking, and I thought that was just the funniest moment where it's like the adults are like, I need a fucking hit, man.
Yeah. Can I say something real quick?
Of course.
Go ahead.
You can always say something.
You know who else had a case on the show, right?
Sorry, say it again?
Who else?
Who else had a guest star on the show?
That is true.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
He's everywhere. There is a line that Kelsey used in one episode. It was the episode where the cabin and he's trying to hide the stash of weed in the vase. And after he holds up his hand and Hyde hits him, I use this line a lot when I can't swear. It's like, you can't see it, but I'm flipping you off.
Regarding Kitty, though, I think didn't the actress she's also the voice of Lois in Family Guy?
Different actress.
No,
but Mila Kunis is Meg.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, Matt, Kurtwood Smith, who played Red Foreman, he played 2 separate villains in Star Trek.
Yes.
By the way, he played a Cardassian. A Cardassian. He played a Cardassian in a time travel episode, and he also, speaking of time travel, he played a member of the Kern. I believe that's And again, another species
involved. I believe
with
everything you say about Star Trek because I don't know much about Star Trek.
Okay. By the way, a question though: when they had that Super Bowl commercial recently with Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher with the Doritos, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Used that song. Were they playing their characters from that 70s show older, or did they were they just playing
I don't
themselves?
know. I never saw the
I
trailer.
don't know.
I have
Never
to
saw
look.
that.
I have to look at it. I have
Sorry,
to look at it.
the only reason I brought it up is they actually made an Israeli version of that ad using the same song, but they kind of changed up the words a little bit. It was
And
fun.
another
And
another fun fact too is I didn't know this until looking at the Wikipedia, but in 1990 the show was remade by ITV network in the UK as Days Like These, using almost verbatim scripts with minor changes to cultural references.
ITV, that's Irish, no? That's weird.
But where's Bogz when we need him?
I don't know if any of you guys had ever seen the ill-fated spin-off, that 80s show.
I heard about it. I never seen it.
No, not worth your time.
okay.
Not worth your time.
Still, we'll always have Mark Ellis on that show, on that 70s show.
That is
Yeah.
true. That is true.
Let's go to your number 350.
Yeah.
So my number 3, finally, a non-Israeli show, and the oldest show on my list, show that I brought up a bunch of times on the show, is Flintstones. Meet the Flintstones. They're a monster family. I said this before and I'll say it again, just like I Love Lucy was the origin of sitcoms, the Flintstones was the origin of animated sitcoms.
Correct.
We wouldn't have The Simpsons and Family Guy and South Park if we didn't have this show. If this show didn't made it back in the 1960 whatever, and was as successful as it was. And they did the whole sitcom model, just they set it up in prehistoric times, and they completely messed up timelines. Obviously, they had dinosaurs with humans, but who cares? It's an animated show. It's fun. It's funny. Enjoy it for what it is. And one of my favorite parts of that show was the creative usage of prehistoric animals as household appliances, like a little tiny mastodon as a vacuum cleaner, or like a bird with saber teeth as like a way to clock in, and where they use the sauropod dinosaurs as construction cranes and stuff. It was great, but and
the humor still holds up. I watched it last year.
Yes, yes. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that I guess the Jetsons also did this, but they're the same company. They're basically like a spiritual sequel to it.
Yeah. I looked up too. I was just like, did Jetsons come out first or Flintstones?
No,
and Flintstones is 2 years older than Jetsons.
Yeah.
And the Flintstones was the 60s. But was it the first animated sitcom, the only animated sitcom to use canned laughter? Like live action?
Yes. I don't know if it's the only, but it was definitely the first.
I'm pretty sure the Jetsons also did that.
Yeah.
But fun fact, have you ever heard the fan theory?
All the Hanna-Barbera's cartoons have done that. But yeah, anyways, your theory.
Scooby-Doo also did that. I forgot about that. But have you ever heard the fan theory that the Flintstones and Jetsons are actually taking place at the exact same time? It's just the Flintstones are at the bottom of where all the giant towers from the Jetsons are.
Yeah, what I'd heard is it's almost like a dystopian future where something destroyed the Earth, and that's what the Flintstones live in. While people who are able to escape that destruction live up in the sky.
The only argument I have against this theory is that all the structures in the Jetsons apparently are on really top poles that seem to come out of nowhere, somewhere in the ground. If the Flintstones really is the ground level of this, where are all these poles?
Yeah.
Like you would see them. So yeah, that's my only counter argument to that.
It's on the other side of the earth.
Pretty much.
That actually works. That actually works out because I don't know if you guys have seen Adventure Time, but basically they do the exact same thing where they had the Mushroom Wars, which is a nuclear World War III type scenario, destroyed a big chunk of the Earth, and so the majority of the show takes place in this gigantic hole in the Earth. While the rest of planet Earth has mostly stayed the same, this gigantic hole sort of became a magical fantasy land with fictional characters. But the rest of the Earth exists mostly the same. So maybe the Flintstones and the Jetsons are on the same timeline, just on opposite side of the planet.
Maybe.
That could be an interesting thing to explore one day.
All right, Ben, your number 3.
My number 3 is a cheat, and I think both of them are going to get printed.
You and your cheats. Anyways, let's hear it.
How I Met Your Mother and Friends.
Fuck you. No.
No.
Not even close. You cannot do that. I'm calling it out. There's no way you can do that.
Pick one. If they were spin-offs of each other, that would count, but it does not count.
Because they are similar, no.
And one started as soon as the other one ended.
Everybody hear each other.
I don't know if he meant to, but that subtle flip off that Ben just did as he scratched his face.
You can't see it right now, but I'm flipping you off.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I got to agree with 50. If it were spin-offs, if they're the same universe, sure, but no, that's no.
Oh, fuck you guys.
Hey, Ben. Fix your glasses.
Friends. I pick Friends.
Okay.
Punt.
Okay.
Punt. You're not going to talk about it.
Okay.
All right, number 3.
Okay, so this is the show I like to say I grew up with because I was born 2 weeks before the show debuted. It is the show where they beg the question, whatever happened to predictability? The Milkman, the Paperboy, and evening TV. Well, how did I get delivered here? Somebody help me, please. Full House. That was the one show that I remember as a kid sitting down when it was airing for the first time every week and actually watching. And I have gone back and watched it multiple times as an adult. To me, it still holds up because I love that type of cheesy sitcom. It always gets me with the corny laughs, and then you got the heartfelt message at the end, which to me was the very first time I'd seen it. Uncle Jesse is one of my favorite characters of all time. I love Jesse and the Rippers. John Stamos is a good musician. And Danny Tanner, what can you say about the guy? Like, if you look at Bob Saget, that a lot of us, that's how we grew up with him, was as Danny Tanner. And then you find out he's one of the filthiest comics on the fucking scene. It's just, there's just so much joy to get from this show. Like I said, 33 years later, it still brings me as much joy as it did when I was a kid.
It's a great show.
It is.
When shows can do that.
Yeah. And I will contest. I will say I really like John Stamos' cover of "Forever" by the Beach Boys. I really do.
I think the music that he does in it is really good. I enjoyed it. And then also too, just speaking of WandaVision, here's her older sisters.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I don't know if you noticed, if you heard after WandaVision ended, John Stamos shared a picture from the set of Full House where him and Elizabeth Olsen are hugging him when she's a little girl.
Aww.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
he said, he's like, they grow up so fast. First they're visiting their sisters on set, and the next thing you know, they're holding towns hostage.
Jeez.
Do you have like a favorite episode or season?
I don't necessarily have a favorite season, or I could honestly pinpoint a favorite episode. But there are quite a few standouts. Really, there's one that hits home for me. Well, I don't know why it hits home for me, but it always gets me in the feels every time. And they actually, in Fuller House, they revisited this. Because when the mother died, everyone was really young, except for DJ. Like, she was old enough. But when she died, Michelle was a baby, so she has no memories. But Stephanie's the middle child, was like 4. And as this progresses through the show, they get to this episode where she's upset because she doesn't remember anything about her mom. And so, the episode deals with all that. And at the very end, they show the home video of when the mom brought Michelle home. And there's no laughter. There's no happy ending. It literally, the last shot is the whole family sitting on the couch crying while watching this video. That's how the episode ends. Later on in Fuller House, I think it's the second to last episode, they're rummaging through the attic trying to find something, like, the something borrowed thing for the wedding. And they come across things from the episode and what have you. And then they come across something from their mom. And again, Stephanie's just like, I don't have any memories of my mom. So you got that whole heartbreak. And then at the end of the episode, they go to this diner where the Kimmy, Stephanie, and DJ go to this diner. And then a memory comes back to Stephanie where it's just after dance recital, this is the restaurant their mom would bring them to for a milkshake. And then the whole family shows up, and then somebody puts on their mom's favorite song on the jukebox, which is Build Me Up Buttercup, and the whole cast sings. I have to say that's my favorite moment from the show, expanded on in the sequel series. I'm a big softie at heart. I always
have you seen To All the Boys I Loved Before yet?
Not yet. Now that I'm taking a break from sitcoms, but for Recap the Past, I do have a little bit of time.
There is a very similar scene too in that first movie because her mom also passed away, and the dad takes her to the diner where him and her mom used to go out on dates, and he was talking about the song that she would play, and she would dance up and down the aisles of the restaurant, and that he's like, my regret is not going up and dancing with her. And and then they play the song on the jukebox, and then like after he's talking about that, she's like, can we play it again? Because like just wanting to listen to the song that her mom loved.
Yeah, like listening to the song is like hearing her mom sing. Yeah. That's almost kind of what happened in Full House. But yeah, like I said, the whole cast just comes out and like enters the restaurant. It's great.
Right.
Okay, so you're number 3, Sol.
So my number 3 aired 1989 to 1998. It is my brother's favorite sitcom, and he knows every word front to back of the show, and that is Seinfeld, the show about nothing.
That's a punt.
Okay, punt.
and I just wanted to point out we had to talk about this before the show started, and you mentioned that it started in 1889. We all tried to guess what that show was, and that was the guess that I had. So
there you go.
I can mark that as the bingo.
That's one of those ones because it's so entrenched in the 90s, you forget that its first season was 1989.
Well, the first season only had like 6 episodes.
Yeah, I think so. It's either 3 or 6. Just give me a moment because there was something called Tiesday Chronicles.
That was a pilot.
You know, it's kind of like.
But it is on Hulu, so if you want to go watch.
But you have Hulu.
It's 5 episodes.
Yeah, it says 5 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like how Doctor Who, everyone knows that it started in 1963, a day after Kennedy was murdered, but it's mostly remembered for its 1963-ness. However, it started in late November, so it only had like 4 episodes in 1963, and the rest of it kind of continued on into 64. So it's mostly a 64 show, but it started in 63. That's relevant because it's not a different decade. Okay,
all right, let's go to your number 2, Fippy.
My number 2, speaking of Doctor Who, it's a show that we've referenced several different times on the show. The Big Bang Theory. Bazinga!
Yeah, nowhere even near my list.
Yeah, I figured.
I've seen maybe 1 or 2 episodes.
I've seen a lot of episodes, but after a while, it just kind of seemed like diminishing returns. Personally, my dad, oddly enough, loves the show, and he can't even pronounce the title right.
What does he call it?
The Big Bang Duh. Don't ask.
Okay, there's definitely a story there somewhere.
Well, yeah, the story is my dad has been in British Columbia for over 40 years, coming on 50 years, and he still can't speak in the proper English.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens.
My grandmother spent most of her life in the United States in Miami and never learned a lick of English.
Ugh.
Because you don't have to speak English in Miami. You can go your entire life not learning English and only speaking Spanish.
I guess so.
My grandmother is very similar. She always laughs about it. She's saying she lived in Israel for 40, 50 years, and she's still talking like she just moved in here last week. That was the way she said it. Like, because she mostly only talks in Spanish, and she still is having trouble pronouncing certain things. And even sometimes she says like 3 words in Hebrew and then transitions into Spanish, because the mind wants to speak Hebrew, but the heart wants to speak Spanish.
And where I'm from in Quebec, it's called franglais, because people will start in French and end in English.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways,
English. The number 1 language spoken in Miami is Spanglish.
Nice.
Spanglish.
But anyways, Big Bang Theory 50.
One final point on that little tangent is one of her sons, my uncle, married a Brazilian woman. So, and because Spanish and Portuguese are relatively similar to each other, sometimes he starts speaking Spanish, says one word that is kind of shared between the 2 languages, and then just transitions into Portuguese without even noticing it. Because he's spending so much time talking those 2 languages. But anyways,
we have 89% lexical similarities between Spanish and Portuguese. Portuguese speakers can understand Spanish speakers. Spanish speakers can't understand Portuguese speakers. For the most part, we can catch a few words here and there. I can read Portuguese, but I can't understand it if it's being spoken to me.
Speaking of Portuguese, I want to add one thing real quick. Has any of you seen the movie Geronimo with John Travolta?
No.
Okay, never mind.
Okay. To bring this back to a show that I don't think had any Latinos on it for some reason, Big Bang Theory. It's a show about geeks and nerds, and I love it. End of story. I know people criticize the show. Oh, this isn't how geeks really are. This is just stereotypes. This is outdated stereotypes.
Which is true.
Guys, all sitcoms do this. Every sitcom is a bunch of stereotypes walking around. It's not like that's the only show that does it. And you know what else? This show, it doesn't just show geeks and nerds as outdated stereotypes. It treats everybody as outdated stereotypes. That's what this show does. You have Penny, the hot next door neighbor. She's a waitress trying to be an actress in Hollywood. It's not like that hasn't been done before. It's a stereotype show. The show is all about stereotypes. That's what the show does. That's the beautiful thing about this show. I don't understand when people try to see beyond what the show is. So yeah, it's crazy to me. But yeah, my mom, speaking of which, she's in the chat. She loves this show because she says that the show always reminds her of me. So
nice.
That's it. She says I'm like a weird mix of Leonard and Sheldon put together.
There you go.
What?
Now, one thing I realize what it is now, but at the time I didn't. And this was my introduction to gatekeeping. For what you were saying, for everything happening behind the scenes, because there are a lot of nerds were up in arms about this show because of everything you said. Bazinga, yeah.
Again, but it's you gotta step back and understand. If the only criticism you have about the show is that it's a show about stereotypes, then you haven't watched a single sitcom in your life.
And I think we've said this multiple times here on. It's just let people like what they like.
Yeah.
It's just like it's not harming anyone. Just if they want to watch the show, they can watch the show and let them be. We don't need to gatekeep. We don't need to make fun of people for what they like. Just let them like the shows that they like.
Exactly. And I will. Go ahead.
What you said earlier, Matt. Emmanuel. That's another stereotype.
Yeah.
With Faulty Towers, the wife keeping her husband's balls like in a
purse. Yeah.
It's another stereotype. Every show does that. Every show, like we talked about earlier, the show that I mentioned, that guy who's the nosy neighbor who barges in unannounced, that's another stereotype. That's why I compared him to Kramer from Seinfeld. It's a stereotype.
And shows Catherine Hahn too in WandaVision.
Yeah.
Just get with the program.
Of course. Yeah, this was the first show that made it okay to be a nerd. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we rule the earth now, so yeah.
Well, we've always ruled the earth. It's just now because of this show, it's known we rule the earth.
Now people are starting to notice it. You know how you're always in school when you're young and in school, and your mother is always telling you to study hard because one day the nerds will rule everyone.
And I remember too, it was somewhere in high school where it switched over from like me getting made fun of for reading comics or Harry Potter or other stuff to like, oh man, this Marvel movie is so cool. And it's just like, I wonder where it came from.
Yeah, like, it's finding out now. We've known it for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, 50, I have to ask you. Who do you like more as like the extra sidekick do? Snoot? Oh God, what's his name?
Will Wheaton.
No, not Will Wheaton. The asshole.
Oh, the one with the list?
Yeah. What's his name?
Barry Queepkey.
Yeah,
There you
very
go.
tricky.
Who do you like more?
Stewart is really.
He's a sad.
I don't know. It's a very sad and tragic character, and he's mostly used as the butt of the jokes, the doormat that everyone steps on. Barry Queepkey is the guy that steps on everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I gotta say Barry.
Okay.
Also, that actor popped up in Jumanji, the second Jumanji. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
He did.
I went with my friend, and I like when I saw him, I nudged my friend, and I said, "Look familiar?" And yeah, we both now.
I was watching it with my mom, and we basically spent like 15 minutes trying to understand why we recognized the guy. And then at some point, I was like, "Wow, it's Barry Kripke!"
Yeah, it's weird because you're so used to hearing him speak with that pronounced speech impediment that it's weird when you don't.
Let's get
off of our tangents that we're so famous for and go to Ben's number 2.
We are on kind of a time crunch as usual.
I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's not your fault, man.
My number 2 is Scranton, Pennsylvania, Mountain Paper Company, The Office.
So this is the one that I took off my list for the Audible.
Really?
Yeah. Because as much as I love The Office, I have, compared to the other stuff on the list and Faulty Towers, I have not seen it as much. But I do love The Office.
Are we going to go English or British?
English.
I mean, American or British, sorry.
English and British are
yeah. Like I said, words are hard, 50.
Mm-hmm.
English. Si tú quieres, yo puedo hablar totalmente en español.
Words.
What can I say about the show? I love the characters, I love the jokes, I love the humor. Everybody in it is funny. In my opinion, there's not one bad season. You can easily watch it from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
So easy. And I love the show.
I will fight back on the one bad season thing. The first season's
I like it. Is it tougher to watch now? Yeah, but I still like it.
I think my favorite episode of The Office is when they're playing basketball, and then you have the shirt, the anime shirt that he's wearing too. And I'm just like, oh, that's hilarious.
I think my favorite episode is the dinner party.
That's a great episode. That's really hard to watch through the awkwardness.
Oh, the hardest episode to watch for me is Scott's talk.
Yes.
When he promised, oh my God. But it's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay, Matt, what's your number 2?
Oh, hold on. I'm trying to find what season my favorite episode is. Just give me a second. It's about Beach Games. It's one of my favorite episodes is Beach Games. Just for the image of Andy in a sumo suit helplessly floating down the river.
I love the one shot. I think it was Michael being interviewed. And he's like, has anybody seen Andy? And you can see Andy getting floating in the background in the river.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many times like I've used GIFs from The Office as reactions.
Oh yeah.
Like Michael and Dwight doing this, or the oh my god, it's happening.
Yeah. Or
one of the most memorable shows ever.
But also Beach Games is, I know the next episode, which was the series finale, season 3, the job is where Jim asks Pam's out, but the start of that was Beach Games, where she tells Jim that he's the reason why she broke off the wedding.
Well, even though that he's done it in season 2, and he finally told you how he feels.
Well, yeah, no, fair point, but I mean, you can't have the job without Beach Games, right?
Okay.
That's where they realize they're both at the same place.
Right.
Nice crack there.
That unintentional.
But you're number 2, Matt.
This is on.
I gotta agree with Cheryl on this one. I gotta agree with her.
You're not wrong. My number 2 is the flip side of The Office, and it's Parks and Recreation.
I love I didn't even think about Parks and Rec in my list. Oh man.
Yeah, good old Parks and Recreation. Like Ron Swanson is one of the best characters ever. For me, the first season is like The Office. It's a little rough to watch. Season 2, it's okay, but where the show really kicks in is at the end of season 2 with the introduction of Chris and Ben, because everything we love about the show starts after that, after their characters are introduced, and we lose the character of Mark Brendanowitz. The moment where Ron Swanson lights the freaking symbolic torch for at the Harvest Fair, and it blows up in his face, and the next thing you see is just him missing half his hair and his eyebrows, and then finding out his ex-wife Tammy's coming to town and running away, like just stuff like that. Just
is his actual wife in real life.
Not that Tammy, different Tammy,
not that different Tammy. Sorry, Tammy 1.
Yeah, and of course, you just alluded to the Ron and Tammy episodes, and the famous one where Ron Swanson, after a night of debauchery, is picked up at the police station dressed in a kimono with dreadlocks and the front part of his mustache missing in a revert Hitler. And when asked why, he's like, "I didn't shave it off; it was friction." Oof. Yeah, the humor in the show, and like the little side jokes, like the rivalry between Eagleton and Pawnee, and Leslie's love for Joe Biden and her
Michelle Obama.
Michelle Obama, yeah, that's what I was about to say, where she freaks out meeting that.
Or you even have two after Chris Pratt is in the MCU and they go back for the last season, and he was originally like a chubby character, and then now he's the buff Star-Lord, and he's like, I just stopped drinking beer.
I love that. Yeah, and that's actually why the London episodes were introduced, was to accommodate him while filming Guardians.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's not enough. This is like I've said it multiple times. This is the only show I binged for the first time, and I watched.
The only show you bitched?
Yeah, I know, words. No, it's the only show I binged back to back ever.
Yeah, it's so. And then you also have the treat yourself too.
Oh, treat yourself!
Literally, I use that all the time. I'm just like, whenever there's something that like I want, I have the funds to get it. But I'm just like, should I buy it? I'm like, treat yourself.
Exactly, treat yourself. Donna is a great character. Jerry, Terry, Larry, Gary, whatever you want to call him, and all of his stuff. And I love how he's like actually like got all these gifts, but everybody still shits on him.
Yeah, everyone shits on him, and then they're just like, wait, he has a hot wife.
Played by Christy Brinkley. Hello.
Yeah, and then like his children are nice and attractive, and he has this nice house, and he has this great life, and he's just like, yeah, whatever. Like, I just enjoy. He doesn't take anyone shitting on him seriously. He's just like a stand-up dude.
And one of my fun things me and my best friend like to do is whenever we're down in the dumps and we're talking to each other, whatever, one of us will send the gif of Leslie where she's saying, "You are a powerful goddess." Yeah, great. That episode, the Pawnee, I can't remember what it's called, but basically where it's about between the rival Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts group, is just so good. And Hunting Trip, I want to throw out Hunting Trip. where Ron accidentally gets shot with a shotgun with birdshot. And then them trying to put him down to sedate him. Oh my Lord.
It's too funny. I love that show.
Ben, you said you've never seen it, right?
Right.
So I cannot wait till we review this on Recap in the Past.
Please, I need to be on some of those episodes because Parks and Rec.
Here we go.
Like, I did not put it in my top 5 because I did not even think about it, but I love that show.
Well, there you go, Ben, our guest for our full series recap.
I was about to suggest that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, dude, 50, you should watch it along with us.
I will. It's just being where I am. It's hard to find, but I will. Don't worry about it.
It's not on Netflix, eh?
It's not on Netflix. As a matter of fact, I finished binging Big Bang Theory for the first time, start to finish, and they took it off Netflix like a week or two after that.
Oh wow!
Oh wow! But I'll go on to my number 2, and that's The Golden Girls.
Oh yeah, thank you. It's not a show I haven't thought of, like I didn't think of because I haven't seen it in a long time. But yeah, oh god, that is a good show.
Never did I know that I would relate to these like older ladies. They're so funny. Every single episode, I'm always laughing. It's timeless. It is great. It's set in Miami, so there you go here. And then Betty White, man, the day she passes is going to be the saddest day because she's the last one.
Yeah. And my favorite character on that show, though, is hands down Sophia.
Yeah.
Picture it, Sicily. And all the jabs she takes, what I love is all the jabs that they take at each other. They are so catty in that show.
I love it because it's just like, this is what friendship kind of between women is that like when you get so comfortable with each other that you could take jabs at each other and know that you don't mean anything with it, that it's all coming from love, and it's just like you're just being fun and how like I love it.
Yeah. And what's amazing is the chemistry they all have, but they didn't all really get along behind the scenes, as you find out years later.
Oh, really?
That's great chemistry. Yeah, well, mostly with B. Arthur and Betty White, I believe. They just didn't mesh. They just didn't mesh.
And to whoever that person is who donates on SEN, B. Arthur can get it.
Yes.
He's not there anymore, I don't think.
Sad face.
Oh, man. Maybe he is, just under an assumed name. But yeah, that's another one where I didn't watch it every week, but I do remember when it was on, sitting down with my parents and watching it.
Right.
And there is also the spin-off series, the ill-fated spin-off series, Golden Palace, which had a very young Don Cheadle in a guest role as a smart character. Yep.
I did not know that, so that's something.
So in Golden Palace, Dorothy has married and moved. I think it was Dorothy. Yeah, she was the only one that wasn't in the show. And so the other three decide to take over a hotel for some reason. And Don Cheadle is the manager of the hotel.
And this is the only one of the 5 that aired while I was not alive. This is 1985 to 1992.
Yeah, that's right. 85. It said 1995.
I said 1985.
I heard 95.
I heard 85.
Thank you.
I'm taking both sides on this one.
I ran out of Q-tips. I need I thought lasted longer, but it really didn't.
I gotta shout out this. This is the Israeli version of the Golden Girls. That's the one that I watched. And you see in the chat, my mom says she loves the Golden Girls. So I asked her which one. I'm assuming she's talking about the original version, but we both watched it together and we loved this. These are the creme de la creme of Israeli female comedians of their generation. And it's a great show. And by the way, I had a few points that I'm forgetting now, but in any case, this is the mother of her. I'm assuming that was the it's the same thing as the original version, right? One of them was the mother of one of them.
Yeah, Sophia, like in the original, Sophia was the mother of Dorothy B. Arthur's character.
Yeah, so she was her mother, and in this show, there's a bit of a twist. They actually made her a Hungarian partisan who fought Nazis in World War II.
Huh.
And one of her best catchphrase is, "You won't survive a single day in the forest." And she dared her to do a bet at some point, and she said, "I'm not doing it." And she was like, "Oh, you're being a chicken, or rather a rabbit." And she was like, "Katak, katak, 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 katak." That's my mom's favorite moment from the show. And he was like, "Katak, katak, katak," and he was like, "What is that?" "It's a rabbit. You're a rabbit. You're being a rabbit." And he was like, "That's not what a rabbit does." And she's like, "A Hungarian rabbit sounds like this." Yeah, and she's always talking about Zachertorte, which is chocolate cake, but it sounds so scary in Hungarian, so she's always like, Zachertorte.
So yeah, in the Golden Girls, the character that B. Arthur marries is played by one of the greatest Canadian actors of all time, Leslie Nielsen.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. He plays the guy who marries her at the end.
To be honest, I didn't know he was Canadian.
Yeah, he's born in Edmonton, Alberta. He when he was born, like his parents were so poor they were living in a tent in the snow, sort of thing. His brother, I think, ended up being part of Canadian government. Oh yeah, he's Canadian.
No. Oh wow!
Let's go to our honorable mentions.
Yes.
Should I start?
Honorable mentions, yeah.
Okay, so my honorable mentions, like I said, the Golden Girls, which just came to me just immediately as you said that. I completely forgot about that. Another honorable mention is another Israeli show, which has, I believe, been adapted into an American show, Traffic Light. It won like an Emmy or something like that. And after that, the Americans saw that it was working, so they went and made their version of it. But yeah, Traffic Light, a great Israeli show. It's about a guy who he's in a relationship. He has a friend who's already married with children, and another guy who's like a bachelor. So that's where the Traffic Light thing came out. So like the guy who's married, he's the red. The guy who's still free and living the bachelor life is the green. He's the yellow. He's like in the in between. But yeah, the reason why it's honorable mention, not actually on my list, is because we said earlier about the stereotypes. This show takes it to a whole other level, and it's too exaggerated. So I wasn't going to put it on my list. But yeah, those are my two honorable mentions, as well as what will eventually be Ben's number one, which he revealed on SEN Live this week. I'm not saying anything else.
Yeah, I heard about that, Ben. Smooth. Good thing I don't watch the show anymore.
Yeah, your honorable mentions, Ben.
Modern Family, Married with Children, That 70 Show, 2.5 Men.
Manly men.
Yeah.
Man.
Really great.
Let's see where it came from.
Okay. Hey, Ben, speak in your microphone.
Oh, sorry. Have so many. 2.5 Men, Ruin Grace, First Prince of Bel Air, Boy Meets World, and Just Strictly.
And for me, I've got I Love Lucy, 2.5 Men, The Office, and South Park.
Ooh.
Which I went intermittently since the debuted. I've been in and out as a fan, but last year, because of quarantine and watching the movies and the movie show, it cemented me as a massive South Park fan. And I don't know.
Did you watch this week?
I did, and while it was fun, I want to say the first one was better.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
But this, the QAnon kids known as the little cuties, and of course Butter's in there because he just wanted to get out of the house. And I love how they're what I love is how they're mocking Donald Trump without actually it being Trump. It's because Mr. Garrison took the Donald Trump role and became president of the United States and plummeted the world into the pandemic. And then now he moves back. And then now he moves back to South Park trying to regain his life, but obviously they're not letting him. And then he's the chosen one for QAnon. It's just, oh my Lord. It's so good.
I need to get back on. I haven't watched South Park in such a long time, and I loved that show growing up.
Yeah, Cartman, as evil as he is one of the best characters ever created for TV.
He's so funny.
Yeah.
But I'll go into my honorable mentions, and one is a show that's not talked about a bunch. I think it's only had 2 seasons. It's called My Boys, and it's about a sports writer. And it pretty much kind of like takes the whole like Cheers thing of like her and her guy friends, like they meet at the bar every episode and they're talking. And then there's other stuff outside of the bar as well. But she's a sports writer, very tomboy like person, very much into baseball.
4 seasons. I just looked it up because I'd never heard of this show.
It was really good. I liked it. And then I also have the Addams Family. Love every rendition of the Addams Family. And then I was a caregiver in college for like elderly people. So there was a lot of MASH. I watched a lot of MASH with a lot of old people. And then obviously I love Lucy as well. And then the next one, I know the lead is a controversial figure. We find out that he's not a great person, but this was a show that I did watch growing up and loved, and that was The Cosby Show.
Yeah, that is a tough one because of how much that show meant to a lot of people. That's a tough one. But I could also say that I actually was not one I watched growing up. So
yeah, this was a show I watched a lot growing up. We had his comedy specials on cassette that we would listen in the car, and then like Raven Simone starred on that show as a little girl. You had Lisa Bonet on the show as well. So it was a very popular show and a show that was watched a lot in my family. Going to the cartoon realm, I put The Proud Family.
Okay.
Like, got a shout out The Proud Family. And then another one we watched with my family is Everybody Loves Raymond. And then I also put That's So Raven.
Yeah.
As like, so those are my honorable mentions.
There is one I want to throw in my honorable mentions because I just remembered about it. And because the format is sometimes forgotten as a sitcom, it's an Irish TV show called Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Okay.
Definitely what's beautiful about that, it's filmed live, the mistakes are left in, and they restart scenes whenever they screw up. And no joke, it's on Netflix.
You'll have to send it to us in our group chat.
Oh, for sure. What I'll do is I'll send you a scene. The scene that the very first scene that I ever saw. Okay, sorry, what were you about to say, Ben?
I remember. So after everything that come out about Cosby, can you go back and watch all the episodes or no?
I haven't gone back since, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
for me, because I started listening to his comedy not long before all that came out, I have a hard time going back and listening to. This is one of my favorite albums. It's the album To Russell, My Brother Whom I Slept With. It's still sitting on my iTunes. I haven't listened to it in like a good decade because I can't bring myself to.
Yeah, and then like the other thing too, the like one that we used to quote all the time: "The dad is great. He gives a chocolate cake." Like, and just like the reference to that, and it's just like now it's kind of just like it's tainted a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get out of the doldrums. 50. What is your number one?
I apologize. I remembered one that was on my honorable mention, but because I spent so much time talking about Traffic Light, I forgot about it. So I'll just be very quick about it. It's called Sabrina Anan, and it's definitely a show of its time, which is the 2010s. It's about this. Meaning, it's pretty obvious from this picture, but it's about this very predominantly white guy from a white Polish family who marries a not necessarily black, but an Eastern sort of Moroccan. I think a Moroccan, an Eastern family, Middle Eastern family, and the differences between how the quote unquote white people celebrate Friday, which is the Sabbath, as opposed to how the quote unquote black people celebrate Sabbath on Friday. So that's why they're wearing black and white in this black and white background thing. And also Sabri Maranan is part of the prayer that we say on Friday when we do the Sabbath thing.
Nice.
So that was my quick little reminder to my honorable mentions. Now moving on to my number one, which was a punt from earlier.
And now we are going to be taken down.
Okay, that's enough. So you pretty much guessed what my number one is. Friends, obviously, this is definitely a show that, first of all, what I love most about this show is that it came out 1994, the same year that The Lion King came out. So it's kind of interesting that The Lion King and Friends, some of my favorite stuff, both came out the same year. And it's about the show, and The Lion King is about as old as I am. Almost. Like, there's a bit of a year gap, but still, it lasted from 1994, the year of The Lion King, to 2004, which I believe that's when the Lion King 1.5 came out, I think.
Right.
It might have been 2005, but I'm pretty sure 2004 was when The Lion King had this big 10-year anniversary re-release, and was in HD and with a brand new scene that was added to the movie, which is the shittiest thing that I think ever done in The Lion King. It was basically like the George Lucas special editions of The Lion King, which I hated, and I'm so happy that they removed that stupid scene away from the movie. But anyways, let's get back to Friends. Yes. This is definitely a show that I honestly believed it kept going till 2010, because while I've been watching it for most of my life, I haven't seen every episode, and it kept coming back in reruns and more reruns all the way into like my high school days. And when later in life I realized that they actually ended the show in 2004, I was like, what? The show has always been around. I honestly thought it was continuing to 2010, 2011. So but then once I got out of the army, I binged the whole show start to finish for the first time, and it is now my favorite sitcom of all time.
I didn't watch this show until college. Like, I saw a few episodes here and then, but I didn't binge it until college. And even though it is funny and I do enjoy it, like, there's moments of it that is just like, I really don't like Ross as a character. And I think he's one of those where he's like, I'm the nice guy, so that means that's why girls should be with me, because I'm the nice guy. And he plays that trope, which, I mean, it's a sitcom, so there's tropes and stuff. But the fact, too, that Rachel ends up with him is such a bad message to, like, he shouldn't be with anyone. He shouldn't have it. Like, he's an a-hole, and, like,
that does not mean, though, that the I got off the plane scene is not a gut punch. Like, that is, no matter everything you just said,
it's still a gut, it's still a gut punch, but it's just like one of those, I was just like, I really wish that he didn't end up with the girl, because he shouldn't, because it just sends such bad messages to people.
In hindsight, totally.
Yeah, and like, so my favorite character from Friends is Phoebe. I think she's the funniest. She's funny, and she's the one that I relate to the most.
See, me, it's Chandler Bing. Like, that is my spirit animal. Like, the show didn't even make it anywhere near my list, but doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. And I'm like the same as you saw. I saw episodes growing up. The one that actually sticks in my mind that I saw when it aired was the wedding episode where it's revealed that Chandler and Monica slept together. That's the only one I remember seeing live. But yeah, in my 20s, I binged all 10 seasons because they were really cheap at Costco. And yeah, it's a show that it would be hard to make like that nowadays. It is very of its time too. If you look at those early episodes, very 90s. Very 90s.
Yeah.
I think actually hurts it a little bit. Yeah, it hurt. In my opinion, I think it hurts it a little bit because it doesn't make it quite as timeless.
Yes.
And Ross too is just like, I really don't like him. And the fact too that like he's a guy who is like that. I should be a nice guy, but then like gets married multiple times, which like no offense to people who get married multiple times, but just like the way he acts doesn't go with like the attitude that he puts on, and it's just like go sit down in the corner. Let like Chandler and Joey and like Phoebe, those are literally the best parts of that show.
I agree. Monica has her moments too, but I think her roast kind of gets to be a little too much.
Yeah.
To be fair though, him ending up with Rachel might not be the best thing, because Rachel herself as a character is not
the best.
She was a very spoiled brat for the first couple of seasons, so maybe he didn't exactly he got the girl he wanted, but maybe the girl you wanted isn't exactly the girl you need to be with. And also, since Ross is Ross, they're probably not going to be together for that long. So
right, they probably took another break.
That's my big defense for why Ross ended up with Rachel.
Because literally the day after, that's my issue too. It's just like the day after you guys broke up.
It happens. It happens
at all.
Now, Ben, this was on your list earlier. What you give us your thoughts?
I mean, I didn't have another comedy. I know. I didn't have a fun time with it. I love hanging out with these people every week. And they make me laugh. Are they the best people? Hell no, but it's a good time to watch. I mean...
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's a good time to watch, but it's not a show now that I will go back to a lot. Like the reason why it didn't make my list is because there are multiple other shows that I will go back to before I go to Friends.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Okay.
And not saying that it's a bad show, like what we said earlier before. Let people enjoy the things that they enjoy. Yeah,
and Chandler Bing, I will say this to my dying day, is my spirit animal. One of the characters I relate to the most, because as he famously quoted, "I'm sad and hopeless and desperate for love."
I'm sad and hopeless and desperate for love. Yeah. Also,
let's highlight we got to highlight the episode where Phoebe's trying to seduce him because he doesn't know that they know that. You know, that whole thing where he said loves Monica.
They know who knows.
One of the best episodes, best moments on TV.
Oh yeah. I'll give you another episode that like for that one. The roommate game. Who knows each other better?
Sorry, the which episode?
The game show when they're playing that. The one
the one where they're in Chandler and Joey's apartment and they're playing the game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. Mm. Yeah. And my favorite part of that episode is when after Chandler and Joey won, and they come in on the dog like in all their glory, with Chandler eating a sandwich.
And what's funny too, like what does it? And I know this has been like the nitpicky thing of Friends. It's just like the fact that they have such a nice apartment. My nitpicky thing is that they have a nice apartment that is literally across from a shitty regular ass New York apartment. How does that work? You're on the same level, typically the same level. You have nice apartments on both sides or shitty apartments on both sides.
My thing is rent control a thing? I've only ever heard it in sitcoms.
Rent control is a thing. It's in certain areas. But rent control is literally, you will see it mostly with shitty apartments.
Oh, okay.
Or like lower income, lower end apartments. You'll never have like a super nice apartment be rent controlled. That's just not a thing that happens.
Okay.
So I might have heard my number one. Seinfeld.
Yeah.
So that is a show I've tried. I love watching clips. I cannot binge episodes of that show.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Why?
I
don't know. I love George.
I was in the pool.
Yeah. Shrinkage!
Matt, here's something I never noticed before.
Believe it or not, George is not home.
Did you know that he recorded that live? Re-recorded it live on on late night for Kat Denning's phone.
Yes, I was just like, oh my gosh, that's so great.
50. What were you about to say?
if you grow your hair out a bit, you look a little bit like Newman.
Oh,
Newman.
Hello, Newman.
I might take that as a compliment.
Wayne Knight's a very successful guy. Just
Oh,
saying.
yeah.
Wayne Knight's a great actor.
and how about Brian Cranston as the main gifted?
Never saw the episode.
Oh.
I just know he was in it.
Within a few, all actors in some clip.
Yeah, I know that was
The
before.
pirate fluffy shirt.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Or when George does the boudoir pictures for the lady at the photo shop.
Oh no.
It's a show about nothing.
Yeah, it's a show about nothing. Also, speaking of spin-offs that were more successful than the original, Curb Your Enthusiasm, it's still going.
Is that really a spin-off though? Because the only thing they have is the creator of one of the creators of Seinfeld is.
I
would argue that Seinfeld is more successful than Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yes.
I would make that argument.
Curb Your Enthusiasm is still going and it's longer. It had more seasons.
Even if something's run longer, I think in the zeitgeist, Seinfeld is so much bigger than Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like me, I've never seen an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I know people who either know Seinfeld or know the quotes even if they haven't seen it, but they don't know that much about Curb Your Enthusiasm or can't say any quote or anything significant about that show. But Seinfeld is so much in the zeitgeist.
It's a cultural touchstone.
Yeah. Personally, I consider Curb the spiritual sequel to Seinfeld. And that is me.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
Fuck you, I'll see you tomorrow.
I'd go with that too. I wouldn't exactly call it a true spin-off, but it is definitely a spiritual. Yeah. Okay, my number one is the one that for some reason Ben tried to cheat with friends.
Oh, that's why you got pissy at me.
Well, I mean, the only similarity is it's a group of 5 people that live in New York that just hang out at the bar instead of a coffee house all day. Other than that,
that could be 10 different sitcoms, Ben.
I didn't say I put them together because they were similar. I put them together because I couldn't choose between them. I like them both equally. And like I couldn't pick my favorite baby.
In your defense, both of them are mine and Matt's number one. So still get to talk about both.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. No.
Yeah, it's just How I Met Your Mother. Like rewatching it this last time with Ben, which we're still doing for recap in the past, just really cemented just how great this cast works together. Like the chemistry that Alison Hannigan has with all the characters, especially Jason Segel and Neil Patrick Harris. Whenever they do their serious scenes, is amazing. The scene where she is with Ted on the roof and she says, "I'm going to give you an out here." I'm going to give you an out here. There are some days I wish I wasn't a mother. I want to pack my bags and run away. Like just shit like that gets you. Barney freaking out at his dad because his dad wasn't there in his life, and he finds out his dad was a normal suburban dad. And he gets mad at him. He's like, "Why couldn't you be there for me?" The episode, one of my favorite episodes, where Marshall's dad dies and they have to deal with the aftermath of the funeral and what his dad's last words were to him. And of course, my favorite episode of the whole thing, where we finally actually had an episode dedicated to the mother, and we got to see her journey. And ending with her beautiful rendition of "Love Yon Rose." This show has it all: the great laughs, the great drama. Robin, the whole episode dedicated to Robin finding out she can't have kids. It's just they know how to get you in the soul, no pun intended, with the laughter and with the drama. And I think it does it great. And a lot of people shit on it because of how the series ended. Which on this rewatch, that ending was choreographed throughout the whole fucking season. I've said it from the beginning, the show is about timing, and it is something that is consistently brought up in the show. The timing wasn't right for Robin and Ted to end up together. Until they
haven't. This is still a show that I have not seen. And I have friends who tell me that I keep needing to see it, but I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yes, is Barney a problematic character when he's doing his bro stuff? Of course. The dude's a sociopath. But when you find out why
every sitcom has one of those characters.
Yeah.
Of course, but him it's like to a major extreme the stuff he does. But it's just when you get to the reason why he's doing it, It's just like he's going after people with daddy issues to mask the fact that he has major insecure daddy issues and he's insecure about himself. And I think he plays it so well.
And that's the thing too, like you can have characters like that who are problematic, but when they actually show why they're problematic, that is good. Like, you can have those because like that's the thing is like that's just real life. You have people in real life who are problematic because of the stuff that they grew up with and like their childhood, and so like it's real life.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things is it's going to be a little bit of a spoiler for the final episode, but after it's in the zeitgeist now. Robin and Barney get a divorce after the wedding, but he goes back to his philanthropy ways. And when the group is talking about it, it's just like, yeah, I've done the love thing. It's not like I'm going to go up to some random woman and he just pulls a random woman and he says, "You are the love of my life. Everything that is mine is yours." And it's like this whole schmoozy speech. Later on, when he accidentally knocks up a girl. And she gives birth to a baby who he ends up becoming the caregiver of because she doesn't want the kid. That's literally the first thing Barney says to his daughter was, "My heart is yours. Everything that is mine belongs to you."
Aww.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Really good. Yeah.
Okay, so what's your number one?
Now, this is a story all about how my life got just turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how you can.
Okay, if the friends thing didn't get us up until now, this might will.
Yeah.
I love this show. It is such a good show. This is a show I grew up on. These are a show that like lasts the test of time. Literally, I can go and watch it right now and laugh my ass off. And then there's even moments too that like you have those serious moments in them, like the whole like the why my dad not love me kind of thing with Uncle Phil. And that was Will Smith in that moment. That wasn't his character. That was him because he took from his real life and his father. And that like they weren't supposed to hug. That scene was improvised at that moment because real emotion came in, and it's so beautiful. You also have to like the it's not unusual. And then so those are always fun. Carlton too, the fact that like he is a rich kid but he's still black. And so that's something he had to deal with too when like they were getting pulled over, and that he was still going to be treated like a black episode. He's going to be treated like a black man and not like a rich kid whose father is a judge. Like, because that cop doesn't know that. All that cop sees is that he's a black man. And so it really just shows you no matter. And I think too, you see that with a lot of like athletes and actors and famous people that they talk about, like I can have as much money in the world, but that doesn't keep my kids safe because of the color of their skin. And so just the fact that like there's so many good and poignant things that still can be talked about and have reference and are important today. But then there's those funny moments and like you can laugh and you can cry, and it's such a great show. And Will Smith is just, he's so great, and I love it.
Uncle Phil is the heart of the show. And like there's something I had to look up real quick, but did you guys ever see the episode where he hustles the pool shark?
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah. But also the one that really gets me, I can't remember what episode it is, what season, whatever, but I will never forget. It's where Will accuses him of not being black, and he goes off on Will saying, "I have seen shit you will never see. I was there for the marches. I was there during the civil rights movement." And he says, I am black to the core, and it is an experience I will never forget. And that's just like, whoo.
And then you get that again too with Carlton when they're in college and they're trying to go out for the black fraternity, and they take to Will, but they don't take to Carlton because they just view him as a rich kid, and they don't really view him as being black enough. And it's just like that kind of just that gatekeeping there too, that happens in minority culture all the time, like where not only are you getting the shit from other people like outside of your culture, but you're getting it from inside your culture too. And that happens in Blacks, Latinos, Asians, that happens in all of our groups, unfortunately. And so like his speech that Carlton has there as well, like, I am black. goes, and I don't care what you think. And that, like, if you don't think I'm black enough for this, then I don't want to be in your fraternity anyways. I'm not going to try to prove myself to you because there's no proving anything. That's what I am. And so I just, this show's so good.
It is.
How about the episode where Will gets shot? And Close by her gun. That scene gets me every time.
Yeah, that is a show that's like I said, How I Met Your Mother. It blends the comedy and the realness very well.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is what's this?
Oh,
I just wanted to point it out.
That's right. Yes, Don Cheadle played one of his best friends from back home in Philly.
Yeah. I
And one ended up being in DC. One ended up being in Marvel.
Yeah.
And then, we just gotta talk about DJ Jazzy Jeff. Like, oh man.
Oh, of course. I love it when he says something. The next thing you know, it's a shot of him get thrown out the house. Yeah, and I love him and Will's dynamic, but for some reason, mostly the first season with those two, I think is the best because it's the most natural two they were off camera at that time.
I don't know the dynamic between Will and Fullerton throughout the.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and definitely go check out the full opening, like the full song. It's actually really good.
Yeah, and I don't know if they actually use the full song though.
No, they don't.
Intro. Yeah,
the longest is in the first season, but they do definitely cut it.
Yeah,
even in that one. But
I think there's a longer version of the song itself.
Yeah, no, there is. That's what I was saying. Like,
I didn't know that.
There's a much longer version of the song, and I think Will has performed it too. Yeah. Like,
it is available on his Will Smith's Greatest Hits album. Is the original long version of that song? Yeah. So that brings this to an end. Wow, we almost went 2 hours on that. So Ben, what is your topic for next week?
Okay, I thought of a fun one. Top 5 of your favorite meals.
Oh, okay, that's gonna be hard.
Favorite what? All right.
Meal. Food.
Wow, that's
Man, why are you doing this to me?
Me too.
Why? Yeah, why?
I'm a foodie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just eat food. I don't. This is gonna take some thinking.
Yeah, it's a good thing we've got a week.
No,
We're not changing it.
No. Stick to your guns, Ben. Stick to your guns.
The ones that make you think are the best ones.
Okay.
All right.
We might all have to do pictures so that way we can show.
No probably.
No kidding. Okay, so that brings an end to this really long episode of Get Sweaty. Soul, where can everybody find you?
You can find me later today on John Roca's YouTube channel for the Ultimate Showdown After Show. Go check that out. We have Frankie Alvarez, we have Alex Shawshek, and we have Chance Ellison on as guests today.
Right on. 50.
You can find me on my channel, 50 Shades of Geek. You can find me on Twitch, 50 Shades O Geek, without the F. I'm going to try to go back to my semi-usual series of trying to beat all the Pokemon Shield, using only a Shedinja, which I also take away parts of these episodes and cut them and edit them into shorter episodes on my second channel, 50 Shades of Gaming. You can also check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Pokemon Star Cross and Crescent. I'm trying to build a Pokemon fan game based on Israel, the country where I live, and you might see some of the pics that I showed off on this episode make cameo appearances and references in that game. Just saying.
Okay, and Ben.
You can find me everywhere at BitRadio too. You can find me every Thursday on Shooting the Movies with Matt here. Every Friday on Recapping the Past. Every Saturday right here. Every Sunday on Ben's Hot Takes. And every Saturday on Matt's Slowdown.
Which is going live at 1 o'clock today.
Yeah, 1 p.m. and a new home at Matt's channel, which most of them know.
Yeah, and what's Ben? Give the people a little taste of what you guys are going to be talking about today.
Today we're covering the career of Perry demo.
Nice.
That should be a fun one.
Yeah, so definitely check that out. And then myself, Soda_the Saxman, Instagram, Twitter, all that jazz. You can find me on Schmelz of the North on all the stuff there. And in about 35 minutes, you can see me guest producing Speaking of Schmodown today, where the guests are Chance Ellison for a little bit, and then we're going to have Saul at the very end. So definitely check that out over on the... Actually, I don't even know what Jay Wade's YouTube channel is, to be honest. I think it's the JCast Network. Can't remember.
Right.
Yeah, so definitely go check that out. And we will see you guys all next week. So don't forget, everybody, smash cancer and stay sweaty.